Mike Elko and his staff are taking the wait-and-see approach in the portal, but I don't think they're done yet.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. On the show today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about the Arkansas basketball game. We're going to preview. It's a big game against a team that is heating up and playing good ball at the right time. But we're going to start things off with the kind of big topic that's going to stretch out over 2 segments today that I want to explain. So those of you every day who are Locked On Aggies know that I have had my, I don't know if I'd say concerns with the way Coach Elko's used the portal this go round. I would say it just quite hasn't gone how I would have expected it. You know, there were some positions that we knew Texas A&M had to fill in the portal. Receiver is one of those. I think for the most part, this staff did a great job there. Defensive line's one. They've done pretty good. But there are a lot of top to bottom positions that I think I'm surprised the Aggies didn't add a little bit more at some of these spots. So knowing that, I've got 5 names that I think the staff is taking kind of a wait-and-see approach. And what I mean by that is I think there's 5 names here, and the way, depending on how these guys perform, that will decide what Texas A&M is going to do in the portal next go-round. So the first name, and I think the most important name I have here, is DJ Hicks. You know, DJ Hicks is a guy that we've seen at Texas A&M for a few years. The expectations were so high around DJ Hicks. And, you know, he's done some things well, but I don't think for the most part this has gone the way many would have hoped or dreamed. This top 10 player, 5-star, his tenure would have gone. And, you know, with who you're losing this year, DJ Hicks is expected to take a big step up for us. We need him to be this incredible, dominant player. And, you know, I think that why did the coaching staff, they brought a lot of players off the edge in the portal. They brought a couple defensive ends. Really, the only interior defensive lineman they went and got was Oyinum. And, I mean, knowing that, I think that a big reason why is they believe DJ Hicks is set to take a big step. I believe it's more than possible. I think we all, if you watched that high school tape, you know it's possible. And it's not like he's been bad in his college career. He hasn't been bad. I just don't think he's been elite like you would have expected. But I think this staff knows what he's got in him. And I think he's the reason why they didn't hit the portal harder. So at the interior defensive line position. So DJ Hicks is a guy that if I'm a Texas A&M fan, I am hoping and praying that he has a great offseason, because I think a lot of the performance of this defensive line is going to end up coming down to how good he is. So I think he's going to take that step. He definitely took a step from freshman to sophomore. I think the step from sophomore to junior is going to be much more significant. I think it's going to be a bigger step, and I think he's going to be a guy that we're going to go, man, who is that making plays? Oh, that's DJ Hicks. DJ Hicks is out making those plays. I think that's going to end up being the conversation that we have around DJ Hicks. And it's one I'm excited to have because we've been wanting to have it for a long time. So he's the number one player for me to monitor. I think that he, like I said, I've got these 5 names here, and they're all important. And I do think they will all play a role to how the next portal window goes. And yes, I'm talking about the next portal window. I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about, I think the way that these folks play will decide what happens next go around in the portal. But I think DJ Hicks is the most important because I think that if it does not work out with him, I think that the Aggies are going to have to go and get another interior defensive lineman in the portal. So they're taking the wait and see approach on Hicks, and I'm hoping that it works out. The next name I have is Ashton Funk. There were a handful of offensive linemen the Aggies brought in last go-around. The one that gets me the most fired up is Ashton Funk, a guy with that 6'7" frame, around 300 pounds. He's got an SEC-ready, college football-ready frame. He had it when he walked on the campus. You know, he had his name on the two deep at points last year. And you know, Texas A&M didn't go get a single offensive lineman in the portal. And we know that so I don't believe that Ashton Funk is going to fight for a starting role unless he goes at it with Crown over to take that spot there. But I don't see that happening. But some of these portal questions that I'm discussing right now are depth related. There are definitely depth concerns there. So I think that Ashton Funk being able to be a reliable, and there's more names like Ashton Funk, but he's the one that kind of gets me personally the most fired up. I think that him being able to be a reliable backup offensive lineman for this team. We know how good this starting offensive line is going to be. The starting offensive line is going to be dominant. I think it's going to be incredible. I really, really do believe that. But I do think that you're going to need some players behind that starting five to step up. And I think Ashton Funk is that number one name there. So want to see him step up, want to see him play good football, want to see him be a reliable option off the bench in the two deep for the Aggies. Because offensive line is an interesting position because, you know, last year I think that we had all around concerns. We had starting concerns, we had depth concerns. This year, I feel that the concerns are more related to depth. I think that when it comes to your starting guys, I think that you feel pretty good about who you got there. I think you feel pretty good about your starters. It's the question of the young guys, your Lamont Rogers, some of these other young guys on your roster, will they be able to help you and step up? Because if the answer to that is yes, then I think this Texas A&M team, offensive line-wise, is in a great spot. If it's not, and I think you're going to learn that over the next few months, if it's not, then that next portal window is going to be when Texas A&M goes and gets players in the transfer portal for the offensive line position. So that is what I'm monitoring. That is what I'm paying attention to. So I am fired up to see what is going to end up happening with that position group. So, but I think Ashton Funk's the guy that is going to find a way to be really good off the bench for this team and be a good depth piece. And if someone were to get banged up, he's going to help you out. So I'm really excited to see what Ashton Funk is going to do this year for the Aggies. Got a handful more names to discuss, and I want to continue to discuss the entire overview of this topic because I think that Elko's not done in the portal, and I'm going to tell you why coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Factor. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love Factor meals, how it takes stress out of meal planning. You know, I've been working on some weight loss myself, and I'm down, since in college for 50 pounds. And this has helped me. Factor Meals has been a big help for me. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE 50 off at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off. to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box over at Factor Meals. The next name I have here on my list is another Ashton, but this time it's Ashton Bethel-Roman. You know, I think that there's two factors that are going to play a role in what happens in the wide receiver room. And, you know, knowing that, I think that those two factors are the play of Ashton Bethel-Roman and what happens with Micah Hudson. If Micah Hudson does not end up being a part of this football team, which once again, we just have no idea. I have no idea what's going on in that situation. If he ends up being part of this football team, I think you're more than fine at wide receiver. But if he doesn't, and Ashton Bethel-Roman doesn't end up taking that step that I and I think many believe he can take, then yeah, I think there's going to be some problems in the wide receiver room when it comes more to depth. I mean, and we know Jerome Miles is a great player. We love Concepcion. I think Jonah Wilson's a great addition. I think he's going to find a way to help you out. We know Mario Craver's great. We know you still got Jerry Bussey. There's lots of great receivers on this roster. But, I mean, receivers been a position we've seen banged up over the last few years. And, you know, I think that Ashton Bethel-Roman is going to be one of your first off the bench kind of guys. And if you want to be a successful SEC football team, your first off the bench guys need to be really good. Your starters need to be really good. Your young guys need to be really good. Everybody's got to be really good. You can't be a team that you have your starting 11 on each side of the ball are great, and then after that, you're bad. Because if you're a team like that, you aren't going to be very good past September because injuries happen, and you're going to slowly get worse and worse and worse the more banged up you get. You got to have a depth roster full of great depth. And I think Ashton Bethel-Roman's going to be a big part of that depth in this wide receiver room. And he's a guy who I think is going to be pretty darn good, to be frank with you. I don't know if that's this year. I think that we recruited too well at the wide receiver position for him to have I bet he has 200-300 yards this year, but I don't think he's going to be, I think he'll be like our fourth or fifth best receiver probably, but he's a guy that I think that if Hudson doesn't stick around, and Bethel-Roman doesn't kind of step up to expectations, I think that he is a guy that is a reason they might want to go get more receivers in the portal. Even though it's a position I think the coaching staff's done a darn good job at so far, still believe there's a world where if those guys just don't pan out like we would have hoped, that I still think that the Aggies might go get another receiver. The next name I have is the linebacker, Tristan Jernigan. Tristan Jernigan is a guy that I've really been high on. I think that he's a player that, when people made a run, when Saban made a run at him before, a lot of people tried to go after Tristan Jernigan. He's a linebacker that I just love the upside there. There's other linebackers that could have been on this list, but Tristan Jernigan is just my guy. I think that he's going to be really good. And behind Terry York and Scooby Williams, I mean, you lost a couple linebackers. I think that and they really didn't do anything at that position. I think that if you are going to be deep at the linebacker position, you need some of the young guys that are coming in this year, some of the young guys that came in last year, like Jernigan, to be good. I think he can be. I think that he turned some heads at his time so far at Texas A&M, and I think he's going to continue to do so. But he's a player that I think we need to see continue to step up and get better and better and better, because that the talent is in there with him, but we got to see it on display. The last name that I have, and I think you could argue is probably the second most important behind DJ Hicks, it's Javon Thomas, a guy that has been around more, a guy that has played a lot of football for Texas A&M, a guy that has been here for a few years now. He comes to Texas A&M, Javon Thomas does, as a player that, really he came as Texas A&M as a player who, as soon as he gets here, he immediately plays a role. He immediately gets involved as a young guy, and no one really expected that. So, I think that knowing that, he's a guy when it comes to, once again, the secondary being the number one concern for your roster right now. Javon Thomas is a guy who I think is going to continue to get more and more reps. I know bringing in Humphrey and bringing in Shaw and returning Will Lee and returning some other corners, you're going to have some guys there. But, I mean, we have concerns about the cornerback room. I think we all can agree on that. That's a reality for every Texas A&M fan. So, I think that Javon Thomas stepping up and being a great depth option for this football team is going to be huge. So I really want to see him continue to get better and better, because I think if he doesn't, you really need to go and get more players in the portal. So to wrap this question up before we get talking about the Arkansas Razorbacks and their basketball team, I want to kind of go over the whole body of work of this conversation. And the reason it's important to me, it's very simple. I think that, Texas A&M brought in 14 players, I believe, in the portal. I believed that number was going to be closer to 20. Knowing that, I was a little surprised to see, Texas A&M kind of approach the portal the way they did. So my immediate reaction to the way they approached it is Texas A&M, Coach Elko, this staff, they must not be done yet when it comes to the transfer portal, or they're taking the wait and see approach. And that's what I think it is. I think they're taking the wait and see approach on a few players. There's probably some more names you could discuss on the wait and see list here. I think some of those other young offensive linemen, some of those other young linebackers, there's some young receivers still. They're taking this wait and see approach, because why go get players in the portal, and spend the money to go get more additions if who you have on roster is really darn good right now? That is my argument. So, that is kind of where I'm at with this. Don't go get somebody. You don't need anybody. I think this roster is in a spot right now where I look at this and I say, you would rather who you have on roster be who you need, instead of having to go and get new players and continue to spend NIL money and do all this stuff. So, yeah, if you're Coach Elko, if you're this coaching staff, if you're the GM of this team, you want Texas A&M's players on the roster to mean, hey, we don't got to go get anybody in the portal. So I think they're taking the wait and see approach. And I think these 5 players are a big reason why. If 3 of these 5 players end up hitting, I think it's going to help you not have to do as much in the portal. If you look at them and go, man, those guys just aren't, they continue to not develop like I would have hoped they have, like I would have wanted them to, that's when I think the staff's going to have to go get some more players in the portal. So that is the conversation. And I think that what happens in the spring will really decide what the staff goes and does next go round in the transfer portal. We're going to preview this basketball game against the Arkansas Razorbacks. It's a big one. They're a team that's heating up. Glad this is a home game. We're going to preview it coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our wonderful friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets in the same game parlays. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So the Aggies are getting ready to take on the Arkansas Razorbacks. So once again, this is an Arkansas team that has been really, really bad at points and then really good. They have beaten Texas, beaten Kentucky, and beaten LSU. So they've won 3 of their last 4, and they're kind of in a spot where they're heating up. I mean, it's a John Calipari coach team. You know there's talent there. The issue has been getting that talent to kind of, step up and get to that next level. So I think that it's kind of happening. They lost their freshman phenom, Boogie Fland, a player that is a player that's going to be a lottery pick. He's gone, but it's almost in a way made their team kind of less NBA and more college basketball. They've got Adu Fierro, a guy that played at Kentucky, went with Calipari to Arkansas, who's averaging 16 points per game, really stepped up and taken his best, had his best season, his college career. They've got DJ Wagner, another former Kentucky kid. The guy that scares me the most, I'll tell you this, the player that scares me the most on this roster is Zvonimir Ivicic. He is a center, 7'2" guy who is a pretty lights out shooter on the year. He's shooting 45% from three. And that's not like we're talking about on a handful of, this is on a lot of, listen to these attempts. 5, 9, 3, 7, 6. He's not shooting 1 or 2 threes a game. This dude can shoot. I don't know how we're going to handle him, knowing that, once again, he's not like 6'8" and can shoot. This dude is 7'2". Every bit of 7'2" and can shoot. So I am really monitoring what's going to happen with Zvonimir Ivicic in this game. I think that if he isn't going to, if he's going to knock down a lot of threes, this is going to be a tough game to win. But I'm just telling y'all, Texas A&M, Arkansas might be, what are they? Are they 3? They have 3 wins, 4 wins? They're 4-7 in SEC play, right? But they are playing good ball right now. That kind of happens with John Calipari teams at times. They kind of settle in, start to play better and better and better. That, to me, is what's happening right now with this basketball team. They're getting better. Texas A&M needs to show up and play their best basketball. And I think what it's going to take to do that is going to be playing some defense. This Arkansas team plays good defense as well, but once again, they're not great on the boards. They are not a team that gets a lot of rebounds. You're going to dominate them there, and then you need good guard play. You need great play from Wade and from Zurich. And if your guards play up, I'd love to see Hefner shoot the ball better. You need to see your guards shoot the rock better in this game. If you have a better shooting game from your guards, I think that you're going to win. I think you should win. What's the spread going to be on this game? Is it out yet? Should be out. No, I don't see it anywhere. If I had to guess, it should be 7.5 points. You should win this game by double digits. Arkansas is heating up. They're playing good basketball, but you're the better team. If you show up and you rebound and you pass the ball like you did the other day, you pass the ball, you get it to against Georgia. We had so many assists. We looked so good. Keep passing the basketball. I think if this team does those things, they're going to win, and that would be incredibly exciting. This is a big win. Continue to keep yourself in the race for the SEC regular season title, potentially, and a top 4 seed in the SEC tournament and a top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. That's going to do it for today's episode and this week here at Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here every single day. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, hit that like button on YouTube. All that stuff helps out the show. If you're listening on a podcast platform, leave a 5-star review. All of it helps me out. It helps the show out a ton. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Enjoy Texas A&M baseball. Gets kicked off today. We'll talk about it on Monday. Have a great rest of your day, great weekend, a great Valentine's Day, and we'll see you on Monday right here on Locked On Aggies.